Hi folks, this is Professor Schwitkus, and we're now going to be looking at doing one of the Stellarium homework assignments. The first one, assignment 0, and this assignment is to get you prepared on how to use Stellarium as a program, and it will guide you through a variety of different commands in a step-by-step fashion so you can utilize the program more effectively later on. So the first thing to do is to print out the PDF file, which I showed you how to do on the last installment of these videos, and basically to read through the instructions. So I'm going to presume that you have assignment 0 in your hand next to your computer, and we're going to operate Stellarium together. Now I may be following the instructions exactly or not, depending upon how I feel and going through that. I'm going to already presume that you have downloaded the program and that you have the ability to access it. So I'm now going to my applications window and going to start Stellarium. You can see the Stellarium icon here, and I'm going to click on it, and you can see the Stellarium is starting to turn on. And you can see that initially what shows up is you're looking south from your default location. And unfortunately you can't see it on the screen here, but on my screen the default location and the date and the time are on the bottom of the screen, which for me is Earth, Los Angeles, and it says the 96 meters, and the date and the time are September 18th, about 4 o'clock, almost 5 o'clock. Now if you move your cursor, here are the cursors in the center, and if you move the cursor over here to the to the left, sorry, you will see a number of icons pop up: location window, date and time, sky and viewing options, search window, some configuration window, and a help window. If you continue down, which you don't see because the bottom of the screen is cut off, there are some other things that you can look at, and I would suggest doing that on your own. You should see things like constellation lines, constellation labels, constellation art, and if you click on any one of these things, then it will send a command to set that particular item. Since it's 4 o'clock, almost 5 o'clock, then the sun is out, and that's one of the things Stellarium does, is it will take the date and time from your computer and set up Stellarium for looking at the sky at this moment in time. Now we can change the moment in time that we're looking at, and we'll get to that in a little bit. That's one of the assignments in assignment 0. And then if you continue looking around on the bottom of the screen, letting the cursor slide over these icons, then you'll see various things pop up as far as defining what these things are. Okay, so make sure that you take a look at that. Alright, so that allows us to get to starting on the homework assignment. One of the things that it starts off for you to do is to go to the location window, and the location window, slide your cursor over to the left hand side and choose the location window, and when you do that you should get a screen pop up that looks like this: a little picture of the Earth, an arrow indicating where it's currently at, and you'll notice that currently I'm here in Los Angeles. What will show up on the default, if the default hasn't been set already, is Paris, France. So this is what it would look like now. At this particular moment in time, it is dark in Paris, France. Okay, and so what we ask you to do is for your computer to set it up for Los Angeles, and then to select on, I suppose you could choose any one of these three. Don't choose Los Angeles, Chile, because that will get you below the equator. So choose one of these guys. I'm going to choose Los Angeles, and then up will pop up latitude and longitude and altitude. You can actually put into this program a particular location, and that might be useful later on when we talk about the North Pole and the South Pole. So you can select a location, specify its name, and then choose that later. Choose that later on. Okay, so I've typed in Los Angeles, and also if you look down here in this window in the bottom left-hand corner, it says use this as the default location. And so when my program turns on, it's already choosing Los Angeles as my default. If you haven't done that for your program, do so now, because all the questions on the assignments are presuming that we are all starting in the same place and at the same time. All right, one of the things that you might want to try to do as well is go over to the sky and viewing options and go over here to landscape. Now, the default nominally is Garching, which is a field outside of Paris. And the difference between this landscape and the ocean landscape, first of all, is obvious. One is the ocean and one is a field. But one that's not so obvious, and that is for Garching, you don't get to see the entire sky down to the horizon. That can be useful. And so, for that reason, choose the ocean as your choice of landscape. Okay, at least this way you get to see the entire horizon. Now, if we go to the sky menu for this view menu, you see a number of items here. And the particular ones that we talk about in the assignment is the show planets markers and as well as the show planets. And we want you to have those two guys set. For the determining the speed of light assignment, we'll come back to this window and you'll turn on the simulate light speed. Okay, without that turned on, light is assumed to go infinitely fast. All right, and there are other things here as well. In a later assignment, we'll have you move these other sliders for the stars and for the planets. And here's the shooting star rate. That's a question that appears. Okay, so let's go over to the other submenus on the view menu. We've already taken a look at sky. We've already taken a look at the landscape. And for markings, we have a variety of things here that we will use later on. Star lore. Right now we're using Western star lore, and if I turn off the atmosphere by pressing the A button, then we'll see the sky show up. All right. Now, star lore, I haven't set the star art set, but I can come over here to the sky menu, and when I go to the markings menu, and over here on the right-hand side, upper right-hand side of this menu, you see constellations. Show lines. You can click on that, and you see some faint lines will appear. I can show the labels, and you can see some labels show up. So, here is Libre, for example. I can show the boundaries. That one shows up even less so. Oh, it shows up pretty well now. You can see the red lines here. This is the boundaries between various constellations. And then I can show the art. So here we should have a set of scales for Libre, right? And we do see a set of scales here. Okay, so there are the two pans, and there is the base, if I got it right. Okay? So let's turn off these guys. And let's take a look at something else. All right, so we can set the date and time. And one of the things I want to do for that is let's move the sky to the north, and we can see the North Star. Now, the North Star has a name. It's Polaris, but it is really just, if you will, a figment of our imagination. The star is really there, and it's really located in the north, and it appears to spin, it appears to just sit there in the night sky. It doesn't seem to move around at all. And I can do that by changing the speed at which the sky moves. So let me change the speed at which the sky moves by pressing the Go Fast button, which you can't see, but that is on underneath the date and time. And when I do that, you can see actually the star moving. Now I'm also going to turn on the equatorial grid, and when I do that you see a bunch of lines popping out of a little spot next to Polaris. So if you're outside looking at Polaris over the night sky, it basically doesn't really move. I mean, we can't determine with our eyesight something that is moving so slowly back and forth as Polaris does. Alright, so now that I've got you believing that Polaris really is not moving in the night sky, let me change the date to near the time of the Caesars. So let's change the date to 0. And September 18th, 0 year. And if you notice, Polaris is no longer near the North Celestial Pole, which is where this, axis is. Okay, it's way over here. And if I turn on the motion of the sky again, you can see that it's going to be following a circle around that central dot there. Okay, and basically Polaris is no longer the North Star, and indeed it wasn't during the time of the Caesars. Okay, so here we are back in our time frame, and I'm going to slow down the speed of the sky. And let's do the next thing and taking a look at what's going on around here. One of the things I can do is select a particular date, and that's what one of the assignments in Stellarium is to do, is to select a particular date. And we've actually done that already as an example. We've also turned on and off the horizon and the atmosphere. So here we have, with this picture here, I would suspect that the sun is up someplace. It's it's at 3 o'clock, and so it's showing up. It's in the east. Okay, so we can look at and see what happens during sunrise. So here we go. Here's with the atmosphere turned off. Here's the atmosphere turned on. You can see it's a lot brighter. Less stars are visible. And if we continue with our scale here, moving the sun, moving the day, if you will, moving the earth, I can control the universe now. Okay, here we go. The sun is coming up. It's 5 minutes to 6. Mercury is up. And notice how some of the stars are disappearing. And then the sun pops up and I can't see anything. Boy, just look at that. The sun just disappeared. Now I turn the atmosphere off and we see some, we see a bunch of stars. And some of them are named. And here's a planet. One of the things that we ask you to do is to select a planet and to watch it during the course of the day. What time does it rise and what time does it set? So I can turn the sky, the Earth moving backwards. So let's do that and see what time does Mercury rise. So here we are. Mercury is at an elevation of about 20 minutes off the horizon. So it's really pretty close. And we could watch it get even closer if we wanted to. Okay, so we're watching Mercury. I'm going to press the space button so that it puts it in the center of the screen, and then I'm going to advance it faster so we can watch it set. So here we go. Mercury's getting higher in the sky. There's Sun, there's Jupiter, and we're going to even go faster yet, and I want to slow down. I don't want to overshoot it, if you will. Okay, so here we go. We're going to slow it down even more. And boom. Okay, so Mercury is set. What time is it? I see that it's 18:12 in the day that when Mercury sets. So that's one of the questions that is asked of you. And you should notice that the rising and the setting is separated by about 12 hours. Now, one of the things we ask you is to look at Jupiter and zoom in on Jupiter. When I zoom in on Jupiter, what I do on the Mac is do Control up arrow. I should probably have touch the space button to center it. So there's Jupiter, and I want to go and then take a look at Jupiter as in this frame of reference, so I can see these other objects. We specify, there are these objects here, and I ask you what these things are. Okay, now these are the moons of Jupiter, and Galileo was the first person to observe them, and it was very important that he saw these things because this showed that there are other things in the night sky that do not go around the Earth but appear to go around other stars in the sky. So these objects, Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto, seem to follow around Jupiter like a bunch of dogs around their master. Alright, so the next thing, one of the other things that you want to try to do is to control time, and we can do that with a bunch of commands by using the minus sign, by using the plus sign. And so what I want to do there is look at the sun and how it's rising and setting during the course of a few months. So here we are looking at Jupiter, and there's the sun, and we're going to get close to the horizon as we can. So this is a setting sun. So I'm advancing time to when the sun is going to set. So we're pretty close here. This is September 19th, so we're pretty close to the equinox, the autumnal equinox, and you can see that that's the case because the sun is going to set almost due west. Now, the sun is following this line here, which is at the celestial equator, and as you may know, the sun sometimes rises just a little, or sets a little bit north of west and rises a little bit north of west, and that occurs in the summer. And we can see that by advancing time by months. So let's go backwards in months and see what happens. So this is September 12th. Here's September 5th, and you can see that the sun is getting higher in the sky and moving towards the west. Moving towards the north. And as I continue to do this, here's August 15th, and it's continuing to do so until I get to late June, and then it's going to go in the reverse direction. So here we go. Here is late June, so 27th of June, and then it sort of slows down, and now we're approaching how it appears to us during the equinox. And here we go down here, April 4th. Here's the 28th of March. Okay, so those are things that we can do as far as changing specific dates and time. So in this case, we moved it by 1 month. So I'm going to set it to the current time again, and we will now move towards the sunset again. And then we can also control it a little bit in finer detail by doing plus and minus signs. And in this case, the sun won't move very much at all, but it will rise. And so this is, I'm changing it by 1 day, and you see that indeed it is moving north and south. It's moving north as I'm changing the day, moving backwards in time, just like we did before in weeks per time. So here I am changing the date, going forward in time, and the sun is appearing more southerly, more northerly as I'm going backwards in time. All right. That being said, we changed it by 1 hour. I can do the same. Actually, that was 1 day. Sorry. So I can actually change it by 1 hour as well. Let's see. Yeah, this is 1 hour. So, oops. So there is 5 o'clock, there is 6 o'clock, and there is 7 o'clock. Okay, so if you will, 1700, 1800, and there's 1700. So 1700, 1800, 1900. Okay, so we have a lot of controls here, and the idea is for you to get used to these controls when you're using this assignment 0, so you can apply that knowledge to the ones in the future. Okay, the only last thing is to take a look at particular items here, and that is I want you to learn how to use the search window, and we're going to search for the Andromeda Galaxy, if I can spell it right. Okay, and so we here, you just have to trust it, if you will. It's already selected, and so if we zoom in on it, there is a picture of the Andromeda Galaxy. Now, the Andromeda Galaxy is something that you can actually observe with the naked eye, and such, it is the furthest thing away that you can see. It is 3 million light years away, and you can still see it with the naked eye. Of course, you have to be in a dark location in the environment. Obviously, you can't see it during the daytime. And if you're in the middle of Los Angeles, you can't see it either unless you have a telescope, and relatively dark. I've actually seen the Andromeda Galaxy using my 8-inch telescope at the Compton campus. So that is something forward to look at. The question also, the assignment also asks you to take a look at another deep sky object. Deep sky objects are things that are not stars and are not planets, but it's essentially everything else. So take a look at this homework assignment. You'll get more experience later on, but this is to give you a cursory, a beginning level sense of what Stellarium is all about. Okay, thank you.